I was sitting quietly next to my 7-year-old grandson Ethan at my son's second wedding in Miami. Suddenly, the boy grabbed my hand and whispered, "Nana Grace, I want to leave right now." When I asked what was wrong, he trembled and said, "You didn't look under the table, did you? What I found there nearly destroyed our family forever." If you're watching this video, please like and subscribe. I want to know how far my story of revenge has reached. The grand ballroom sparkled with golden candlelight and crystal chandeliers. Today was my son Marcus's wedding to his second wife, Sophia. Everything looked perfect, too perfect. Ethan sat beside me, quietly pushing his blue toy truck across the pristine white tablecloth. Since losing his mother Rebecca in a car accident 3 years ago, he'd become withdrawn, especially around Sophia. His clear eyes seemed lost in his own world, away from the adult chaos surrounding us. I straightened his little bow tie, a gesture that reminded me of his mother Rebecca, whose tender smile I still remembered like yesterday's sunshine. The jazz quartet played softly as waiters glided between tables, serving wine and clearing plates. White roses adorned every table, and the ballroom glowed with elegant luxury. Marcus moved between tables in his navy suit, toasting guests with a radiant smile that couldn't quite hide the emptiness he'd carried since Rebecca died. In the distance, Sophia posed for photos in her beaded wedding dress, her perfect smile never faltering as if the whole world belonged to her. I felt something strange watching her, an uneasiness I tried to dismiss as oversensitivity. Let me take you back to when our family was whole. Rebecca had been like morning sunlight streaming through windows, warm, gentle, never raising her voice. She made me feel like I had a true daughter. I remember those windy afternoons in our Denver suburb when I'd visit Marcus and Rebecca's little house. Ethan, barely walking then, would chase rubber balls in the backyard while Rebecca sat on the porch with fresh vegetables from her garden. "Mom Grace, try this chili I made," she'd say proudly, placing the warm bowl before me. I'd sit there eating and talking about simple things while Ethan crawled around with his toy cars. The most beautiful and painful memory was when Ethan became seriously ill with a high fever. His little body burned and he could barely open his eyes. Rebecca held him while tears streamed down her cheeks. "Mom Grace, I'm so scared," she whispered. I sat with her through the night, taking turns placing damp cloths on his forehead. When dawn broke and his fever finally subsided, Rebecca turned to me with red eyes but a faint smile. "Thank you, Mom. Without you, I don't know what I would have done. I thought this little family would be happy forever." But one fateful afternoon, everything shattered. The phone rang while I was washing dishes. A cold police officer's voice came through. "Mrs. Patterson, there's been an accident." My hands shook so badly I dropped a plate. Rebecca was gone. A truck had lost control and hit her car on the highway. At Rebecca's funeral, rain fell endlessly as if the sky was crying too. 4-year-old Ethan sat in my arms, confused. "Nana, where's Mommy?" he asked in his small voice. I hugged him tight, swallowing tears, whispering, "Mommy's in a beautiful place, sweetheart." Marcus collapsed at the coffin and I knew part of his soul had died with Rebecca. Life after loss. Marcus changed completely after that tragedy. He buried himself in work, leaving early and returning after Ethan was asleep. I understood he was running from the void in his heart. Ethan suffered most. He talked less, his gaze often sad, waiting for a miracle to bring his mother back. I became his anchor, taking him to school each morning and sitting by his bed each night. "Tell me a story about Mommy," he'd often ask, and I'd share memories of Rebecca singing him to sleep or cutting fruit into special shapes for his desserts. My adopted daughter Claire became essential during those dark days. With her warm heart and gentle hands, she'd bring coloring books and homemade cookies. Claire loved Ethan like her own little brother, teaching him to read and helping with his drawings. "Look, Ethan, your house is even prettier than mine," she'd laugh, her voice clear as bells. But sometimes I'd catch Claire looking at Marcus with something deeper than sibling affection when he'd return home silent from work. I saw it but said nothing, afraid to break our fragile family stability. 6 months ago, Marcus first brought Sophia home to our Denver house. She arrived in an elegant light blue dress, hair perfectly styled, greeting me with a practiced smile. "Such a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Patterson," she said sweetly, bowing slightly. At dinner, I served Ethan's favorite tacos with extra cheese. Sophia offered him chocolate from her purse, but Ethan immediately shrank away, avoiding her eyes. When I asked if he was okay, he just nodded silently. He's probably tired, I told Marcus, but alarm bells were ringing inside me. Dinner proceeded in what I tried to make a friendly atmosphere. I'd prepared tacos, enchiladas, and fresh mango salad, Ethan's favorites. Marcus sat beside Sophia, his eyes never leaving her, happiness visible in every gesture. Mom, Sophia works in marketing at my company. She's incredibly talented, he said proudly. Sophia smiled, serving herself with calculated movements. Mrs. Patterson, this is delicious. You must teach me the recipe. But something about her laugh felt staged, like watching a well-rehearsed play. Ethan sat unusually quiet, picking at his food without lifting his head. I noticed him avoiding Sophia's gaze as if hiding in a safe corner. When Sophia placed chocolate in front of him with a radiant smile, he simply turned away without touching it. I saw fear flash in his eyes and felt my heart contract. Claire, who was also at dinner, sat silently across from me. But I noticed how her expression darkened when Sophia took Marcus's hand under the table. When this happened, Claire's grip tightened on her glass, though she said nothing, a silence heavier than words. Over the following weeks, Sophia gradually inserted herself into our lives. She'd volunteer to take Ethan to the park, returning with stories of their wonderful time, while Ethan remained strangely quiet. His clothes would be dirty, his usual chatter replaced by silence. One Saturday morning, Sophia appeared at my door with an enthusiastic smile. Mrs. Patterson, I want to take Ethan to the park today. Though I felt doubt, I agreed. When they returned, Sophia recounted their adventures with excitement, but Ethan's shirt was stained with dirt I'd ironed that morning. He clutched his toy car, saying nothing about the outing. Did you have fun, sweetheart? I asked, stroking his hair. He just nodded slightly, looking away. Another time, while Marcus was at work, Sophia showed up unannounced. I was preparing lunch when I heard her harsh voice from the living room. Sit still, Ethan. Stop acting like a baby. I froze, chills running through my body. When I entered, she immediately switched to her sweet tone. Our little Ethan is so clever, look at this tall tower he built. But Ethan pressed his lips together, looking at me as if pleading for help. The worst incident was Ethan's 7th birthday. Claire spent all morning baking his favorite chocolate cake. When she presented it with lit candles, Ethan's face lit up for the first time in months. Aunt Claire, this is my favorite cake, he exclaimed, running to hug her. Sophia stood in the corner with a forced smile. Her only gift was a dismissive pat on the shoulder and, happy birthday, champ. I watched Ethan shrink, avoiding her gaze. Later, at the grocery store with Marcus and Sophia, Ethan accidentally knocked over candy. Sophia snapped, "What a clumsy boy. Now look what you've done." Marcus scolded Ethan while I watched my grandson's spirit break further. His teacher called that week. Mrs. Patterson, Ethan's become completely withdrawn. He barely speaks in class. Is everything all right at home? I assured her it was just family adjustments, but my heart was screaming warnings I chose to ignore. Back at the reception, I was sitting at table 12 with Ethan and Claire. Ethan played with his red truck, whispering soft vroom sounds. Claire, in a simple beige dress, leaned over occasionally to whisper encouragement in Ethan's ear. The waiters moved discreetly, serving appetizers and plates of fresh shrimp. I noticed Ethan only took crackers, carefully pushing the shrimp plate away. Don't you like this, sweetheart? I asked quietly. He shook his head, looking away as if hiding something. A relative interrupted cheerfully, Ethan's behaving so well, Grace. Look how big he's gotten. I smiled and replied, he's becoming quite the little gentleman, but inside I couldn't shake my worry. Ethan had never refused food so strangely. In the distance, Sophia's gaze turned toward our table. Her smile seemed to tighten for just a second before she turned back to toast with another guest. Then everything changed in an instant. Ethan pushed his toy truck too hard and it rolled onto the floor. He quickly crouched to retrieve it but froze, eyes wide, staring at something under the table. With trembling hands and a pale face, he pulled out a small folded paper. He immediately clung to my hand and whispered urgently, Nana Grace, let's go. Please, let's go now. My heart started pounding. What's wrong, sweetheart? Trembling, he repeated that question that chilled my blood. You didn't look under the table, did you? I crouched down and lifted the white tablecloth. There, next to Ethan's chair, lay the evidence that would destroy our family. I picked up the paper with shaking hands, feeling the world shrink around me. I unfolded it in the candlelight. The scribbled words made my blood freeze. Table 12, add extra shrimp to child's portion. My world stopped. Ethan is severely allergic to shellfish, something our entire family knows. A single piece could kill him. This wasn't an accident. This was attempted murder at my son's wedding. I crumpled the paper in my fist, rage and terror coursing through me. Around us, guests continued celebrating, oblivious to the nightmare at table 12. I found our waiter Kevin near the kitchen. When I showed him the note, his face went white. "That's my handwriting," he stammered. "A lady from the wedding gave me this, said it was from the kitchen manager. I dropped it by accident when serving your table." "What lady?" I demanded. "Blonde hair, elegant dress. She was at the head table, ma'am." Sylvia. I returned to the ballroom, note clutched in my trembling hand. The master of ceremonies was announcing dinner service. I had to act now or risk losing Ethan forever. I stood abruptly, my voice cutting through the music and chatter. "Before we eat, I need everyone's attention." The ballroom fell completely silent. Every eye turned to table 12. Who wrote this note requesting extra shrimp for the child at table 12? I held up the paper, my voice shaking with fury. Shocked whispers rippled through the crowd. Marcus rushed over, confused and concerned. "Mom, what's happening?" I thrust the note at him. "Read it yourself." The color drained from his face. "I don't understand." Sophia approached with perfect composure. "What's this drama about?" "Some silly mistake." I stared her down. "My grandson is deathly allergic to shellfish. This note could have killed him. This is attempted murder." The room erupted in gasps. Sophia laughed, but panic flickered in her eyes. "You seriously believe a child's fantasy? There's no name on that paper." Claire stepped forward, fury blazing in her eyes. "Stop lying, Sophia." The slap echoed through the silent ballroom. Sophia stumbled backward, hand to her cheek. "You tried to murder a 7-year-old at your own wedding," Claire said, her voice breaking with rage. Sophia spun toward Marcus, crocodile tears flowing. "She's jealous. She's trying to ruin our perfect day." But Marcus was staring at the note, then at Ethan cowering behind me. The fearful behavior, the withdrawn silence, everything clicked into place. "Kevin." I called the waiter over. "Tell everyone what happened." Kevin approached reluctantly. "A woman from the wedding party gave me that note. Said it was kitchen instructions. I dropped it accidentally." Marcus's voice was hollow. "What did she look like?" "Blonde, elegant dress. She was at the main table, sir." Every eye turned to Sophia. Her perfect mask finally cracked. "This is insane," she whispered, backing away. Claire stepped forward again. "Should we check the security cameras?" Those words hit Sophia like a physical blow. Her face went ashen. The silence that followed was the loudest confession of all. Marcus approached Sophia slowly, his voice breaking. "Did you try to hurt my son?" Sophia looked around desperately, seeing only faces filled with horror and disgust. "You don't understand," she whispered. "That child was always in the way. Always reminding you of her. Of Rebecca." The admission stunned the room into complete silence. Hotel security appeared. "Ma'am, you need to leave immediately." As they escorted her out, Sophia turned back once, eyes blazing with hatred. "You've destroyed everything." Marcus knelt before Ethan, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry, buddy. Daddy should have protected you." I helped my son stand, squeezing his shoulders. "We stopped her in time. That's what matters." In the weeks following that nightmare wedding, our family slowly began to heal. Marcus was devastated by his blindness to Sophia's evil, but he threw himself into being the father Ethan needed. Claire became our family's guardian angel, carefully preparing Ethan's allergy-safe meals, taking him to parks, helping him rediscover his smile. Every evening she'd read him stories until he felt safe enough to sleep. One night at dinner, Ethan looked at Claire with innocent eyes and said, "I want Aunt Claire to be my new mommy." Claire blushed and looked away. Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "Mom," he told me later, "I was chasing the wrong kind of love. Claire has been here all along, truly caring for our family." 6 months later, Marcus and Claire married in our backyard. No fancy ballroom, just family and real love. Ethan was the ring bearer, finally safe and genuinely happy. Sophia vanished from our lives like the poison she was. But the lesson burned into my heart. Trust your instincts when protecting those you love. Family isn't about blood ties or perfect weddings. It's about having the courage to fight for each other even when the truth is ugly. Sometimes the smallest acts, listening to a child's fear, looking under a table, asking hard questions, save lives. Ethan is 7 years old now, playing with toy trucks, calling Claire mommy, living without fear. He's safe because we found the courage to act when it mattered most. If you were in my place, would you have stayed silent to keep the peace, or would you have fought to protect your family? Sometimes love means destroying beautiful lies to save precious lives. The story you've just heard has been modified to protect identities, but the message remains. Listen to the children in your life. Their fears might be trying to save them. How many families are suffering in silence? What would you have done in my situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. Every story can light the way for others facing similar darkness. What would you have done?